guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing colouring in one of my Harry Potter books and telling you guys about a crime committed by someone called Susan Wright. I'd like to make a quick disclaimer that the story may involve triggers for some people, as the story does cover things like abuse and stuff like that. So please click off the video if this is something that you aren't able to listen to, and I'll see you again next time. So let's get on into it. Susan Wright was born on the 24th of April 1976. She was born a blonde American woman from Houston, Texas. In 2003, she was featured in the newspaper for stabbing her husband Jeff Wright 193 times and then burying him in the back garden. She met her husband while working as a waitress in Galveston, Texas in 1997. They got married the next year while she was 8.5 months pregnant with her first child, which they later named as Bradley. Then a couple of years later, they had their second child, a daughter named Kaylee. In their first few years of marriage, Susan claimed that her husband had abused her several times and used illegal substances. Now, according to the evidence collected, on Monday the 13th of January 2003, Susan, aged 26 at the time, supposedly tied her husband Jeff, aged 34, to the bed and stabbed him at least 193 times with 2 different knives. After she'd done this, she dragged his body into the back garden of their home and buried him. In attempts to hide the crime, she painted the bedroom walls, as well as going to the police station the following day to report a domestic abuse incident and requested a restraining order against Jeff in order to explain his disappearance. 5 days later, on the 18th of January, she then called her attorney, Neil Davis, to come to her, where she then admitted to him about stabbing her husband and burying him in the back garden. Neil then informed the county district attorney office that Susan had confessed to the crime. On the 24th of January, she turned herself in to the county courthouse and then faced murder charges a few days later. The trial began on the 24th of February 2004. During her arrest, she pleaded not guilty to killing her husband on the reason of self-defense. The prosecutor, Kelly Siegler, I think that's how Siegler. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I'm not very good at pronouncing things. The prosecutor, Kelly Seeger, had a completely different view of Susan than her defense attorney. In Kelly's eyes, Susan had seduced her husband, tied him to the bed, stabbed him and buried him in the back garden to claim his life insurance money. On the other hand, Neil portrayed that Susan, as a woman that had been suffered years of abuse and killed him to protect her and her children. She testified on her own defense with a very emotional response that on the night of the murder of her husband was high on cocaine and had beaten her. Her mother was one of the other ones that would testify on her behalf as well. Kelly was not impressed by Susan's testimony at all, and believed that the tears that she had shed were faked to get sympathy from the jury. In a way of persuading the jury that she provided a very unusual demonstration. In an attempt to get her point across to the jury, Kelly presented the actual bed from the murder scene in the courtroom and used the co-counsel to act out how she thought the murder went down that night. Kelly argued in her closing statement that Susan was a topless dancer and explained how she believed Susan had the capacity to fake her testimony in order to gain sympathy from the jury. But the defence stuck with the original approach that Susan was a woman that got abused and was only protecting herself and her kids. After about 5.5 hours of deliberating, on the 3rd of March 2004, Susan was convicted of the murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Her conviction was upheld in 2005 by the Court of Appeals in Texas, with a reappeal in 2008. A new witness presented evidence of abuse, the ex-fiancé of Jeff. In 2009, the Texan Courts of Criminal Appeals granted Susan a new sentence and rendered her counsel as ineffective assistance during the original punishment phase of the trial. On 10th of November 2010, her original sentence of 25 years was lowered to 20 years, which made her eligible for parole in 2014. In 2014, she was denied parole and was then denied parole again in 2017, and her next parole date was July 2020 and was later released on the 30th of December 2020. And believe it or not, there's actually been a movie made about this called The Blue-Eyed Butcher. I thought this one was quite interesting to cover as well, considering that there's been a movie made about it as well. It's quite a famous one, this story, obviously, as you can tell, because there's been a movie made about it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments of this story, and what you think of my colouring that I'm doing. Not sure if I'm going to get it all finished, this one, because it's a double page colouring. But yeah, just let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you for coming to watch my video. I'd like to add a side note. I don't mean any offence to anyone that I'm talking about in these videos. I just post them purely because I like the content of true crime videos. If you like my content, then please like and subscribe and let me know